2014's Guardians of the Galaxy was a film I think it's fair to say took everyone by surprise, be you a comic fan or not. James Gunn and the superhero machine over at Disney and Marvel Studios managed to take a C-list at best team of cosmic superheroes and elevate them to a level no one thought possible, with a damn near perfect mixture of comedy, space opera, action, and one killer soundtrack. Now in 2017 we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and the question of can they make this particular brand of lightning strike twice, especially given Marvel's history of turning in sequels that, while enjoyable in many ways, often tend to fall short of their originals. Iron Man 2, Thor the Dark World, I'm looking at you specifically. Well, I think I'm safe to just come out and say it here and now. Guardians Volume 2 met and in many ways exceeded almost all of my expectations I had going in. As we join the film, it's an undetermined amount of time after the Guardians became famous with the defeat of Ronan and the defense of Xandar. The team gets themselves into hot water after Rocket crosses the leader of a group of gold-skinned eugenics freaks called the Sovereign. From there, it's a race to escape, which only serves to bring Peter Quill face to face with an alien being claiming to be his long-absent father. Now, while the first Guardians movie was all about seeing how many strange planets and cool set pieces they could fit into the runtime, Volume 2 refreshingly is kind of small in its scale. Instead, the really showy stuff comes in the form of developing and giving extra depth to the different members of the team. We see Star-Lord deal with his parental abandonment issues, Gamora sorting through her own complicated emotions involving her sister Nebula and their abusive upbringing, Rocket gets a hard-working B-story wherein he and the returning Yondu build an unlikely friendship while also battling a hostile takeover from inside the Ravagers themselves. Even Drax the Destroyer grows in ways you wouldn't expect. For one, he clearly gets jokes now. He might even spend 90% of his screen time laughing like a madman. In fact, he feels so good about his new social interaction skills, he takes it upon himself to mentor new character and similar social inept Mantis, played adorably by actress Pom Klementieff. I was so into all the character work, it wouldn't even have bothered me if the Guardians never had to save the galaxy, but hey, this is a big summer blockbuster, so of course that's gonna happen. But that's another place where Guardians Volume 2 shines, and wait for it, this sequel actually has some good villains in it. To say too much on the subject would be to spoil big important plot points, but I'll just say this: the new offering of baddies are all well designed, threatening and charismatic in their own way, but perhaps most importantly, memorable. I mean, oh sure, we all liked Guardians 1, but would Ronan be making your list of great comic book movie villains anytime soon? Of course not. The soundtrack is once again on point, more classic 70s rock and pop hits. The music becomes even more important to the story of Peter Quill and his would-be father, as their connection to Earth is illustrated through one of their favorite songs. They also revisit the dance intro from the first movie, but change the setup just enough to make it feel fresh and different. I mean, the argument could be made that the movie goes out of its way to check too many of the boxes of things that people really enjoyed from the first movie, but the filmmakers are smart enough to know to put a new spin on stuff like Yondu using his arrow to kill a bunch of people, Groot using his stretchy vines to get into trouble, and Star-Lord and Gamora never quite finding the right time to be romantic with one another. Overall though, if I had to pick my own personal favorite aspect of the movie, is that it is what so very few superhero movies can truly claim to be, and that is thematic. The theme of disappointing parents, wayward children, and making new families out of close friends is a really, really strong through line of the movie. Chances are, if you have had your own issues with your family, this movie is gonna hit you right in the feels. And keep in mind, this is all before I even talk about cameos and post-credits and Easter eggs and all that other good Marvel Universe connective tissue. They're all here, and they might actually be some of the strongest in any Marvel movie to date. All I will say for certain is, with just a few well-placed scenes and cameos, the Marvel cosmology just got way bigger and way more interesting. In summation, I really enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. While I don't think it will have that same initial wow factor that they managed to pull off so expertly in the first one, I think this movie manages to blaze a trail all its own and become something I feel that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the original. It's a movie that makes a lot of choices that could have been potentially disastrous, like hitting the ground running so hard, essentially not having a first act, splitting the team very early on, and yet it all just kinda works. Granted, it's still far from the Abnett and Lanning comics I know a lot of fans out there are still clamoring for, but what it does very well. I know by this point another positive review of this film is just gonna be another drop in the bucket, but hey, that's what I thought. So until Volume 3, everybody, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.